Hey YouTube, this is Lester Crone Strolling Bones, and this is going to be the beginning of a new set of videos, a new playlist, if you will. It's early in the morning. I've noted that in the last couple videos I've made, and I find I do my best thinking and best work at this time. So it seemed fitting to start a new branch of videos for my channel today. And anyway, I want to start by discussing certain basic social philosophies that I hold dear to my heart. Basically, at the very basic, my philosophy of the world is that we are confused entities of coalesced consciousness, etheric ideal that have coalesced into a material realm. Essentially, your body is your tool to do what your mind wills it to do. That's all it is. It's like a truck. And your mind is your computer. Your soul, on the other hand, is the driving force behind the computer. So your soul represents you, in the sense of you being behind your computer being the tools within the computer itself that process the information, and the computer itself, with the mouse and everything, being your body. I also believe that possibilities are endless, and to limit yourself to one idea or philosophy is cheating yourself out of excessive amounts of wonderful mental territory that you can go into. There are stories that abound throughout the world. It's disputable whether they're provable or not, about mystics who can do all sorts of fantastic things with their minds and their bodies. And I'm a firm believer in that stuff. I'm a firm believer that as these major revolutions have taken place over time, aka the agricultural revolution and the 500,000 pound meta gorilla, the industrial revolution, which we are still in the infantile stages of, being the two main revolutions that have occurred on Earth as far as anybody can tell. Those two revolutions have formed and shaped our ideas, and I found that over time, I believe that we as a species, as time has seemed to increase in speed to us, we have pigeonholed ourselves, or we've come to like an apex. It seems as though we've come to an apex where all these ideas, where we are, how do I best put this? People my age, I'm 27, I was born in 1984, which I find to be pretty silly considering the wonderful Orwell novel 1984, describing a very similar experience to what I perceive the world to be, the direction I perceive the world to be going in. Cameras in the streets, the misguided fools wielding badges, enforcing asinine laws that are antiquated and out of date, unimportant laws. I see all sorts of bickering about unimportant things. My grandfather's great-great-great-grandfather's great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, who there are no specific records of, beyond some book that has been manipulated a million times, slighted, or was slighted by your, X times great-grandfather, and therefore I have some sort of unabridgeable or unbridgeable desire to harm you or be your enemy. Mentalities like that blow my mind. I feel very responsible, because I feel that my generation, that 80s generation, the generation that's just now beginning to beget offspring, I call us Generation Y, because we're asking all these questions. Information is being pumped into our brains faster than it's ever been trickled down to the world, ever, as far as we know. I'm a firm believer in ancient alien theories, and you call me crazy, but I'm a firm believer in at least the possibility that higher life forms or higher intelligences came to this earth and seeded the planet with with life forms, or manipulated the genetic code or whatever, used science or magic to manipulate the way the world works or the experience in life here on Earth. I'm a firm believer in that, but that's just a possibility. And kind of getting lost here, but I guess what I'm trying to say is my main philosophy as this young person is that our generation, the Generation Y, is asking all these questions, and we are vastly coming to the conclusion that we were gypped, we were cheated, the wool was pulled over our ancestors' eyes, our immediate ancestors' eyes, and we've been slugging it out in this terrible paradigm where greed rules, pain and suffering are the norm. Nobody cares about anybody else. You don't give a shit about your neighbor. Everybody's locked into their own little world, and it's a sad, sorry state. And there's all sorts of alternative thought processes that have existed for hundreds of years out there, for ways with which we can live in a technological society but still have not bear witness, that's a little too religious of a term, still be able to feel and access those roots of pastoralism, and even beyond that, those roots of connectedness to the earth, because essentially the earth is our mother, if you will. It gave birth to us. We were born from its essence, from its stuff. The sun seeds it, the sun being the positive element here, and the earth being the negative, or the moon and the water within the earth being the negative, the birthplace, the womb, if you will, of life on this specific rock. And basically, I feel that we are so far removed from that. The idea, I call it magic, but once again, that's like labeling something God. Too many people have too many skewed views because of Disney and other movies and other stories, and the idea that somebody who is very good at sleight of hand or illusion or stage magic, that is what magic is, or Harry Potter, here is what magic is. No, that's a really deep esoteric subject that we could go on for length about, but I do believe that we as humans are in possession of tools that we don't use, that we've been tricked into keeping dormant in ourselves, and that innately we are not a greedy species. We're not in it. We are too intellectual to trick ourselves into believing that it's in our best interest to constantly stab each other in the back. I've been turned on to the zeitgeist movement since the first movie came out. I hopped on board that relatively quickly in that first wave when the first movie came out, and I was keen already to a lot of the knowledge about the solar cult, or the idea that these archetypes of savior characters exist throughout history in all sorts of religious contexts. But it really opened my eyes a little bit more. I knew there was something corrupt and wrong about our financial system, but it kind of opened up the avenues for further research for me, and let me really peer more deeply into the way our current economic system works, which is a total farce and is a bullshit way for a very select few blue bloods to control and manipulate the outcome of everybody's life on many different levels. It's psychic warfare, really. It's not my cup of tea, but I'm a proponent that we should work together. My philosophy is that by limiting yourself to extremely strict points of view about the way existence is, that includes science, which I consider a religion. Once again, a religion being another poor term, just like God being a poor term, or yada yada yada, magic being a poor term, yada yada yada. The language is limited, or limiting, I should say. But I'm a firm believer that science is a religion. It's just another way of people going about explaining their surroundings. I mean, yeah, you do it with a microscope, but that's just the tools you have at your disposal. The shaman uses psychedelic means. The scientist cuts things up and uses his knowledge of the material world to his advantage. Everything that interests me scientifically is theoretical. None of the actual physical stuff, the physical laws, really interest me that much, because it doesn't seem to me like that's utilizing science's main point, which is constantly moving forward. I love the idea of the electrical model of the universe. Tesla's a huge influence on me. I love his idea of free energy, accessible technology and information for everybody. I'm a proponent. I would call myself an acolyte for that mode of thought. I'm not an overly mathematical person. I'm much more poetic, and that would probably be why I tend to lean more towards the fairy tales, the stories of Yggdrasil, and Noah, or go on for hours. There's all sorts of stories that all fall into these broad archetypes. They're just stories. They're ways of expressing and explaining things that happen. We're childlike in nature, so stories tend to be a better way of transferring information to one another, whereas hard facts and cold numbers sometimes leave a lot to be wanting. Although numbers are beautiful, numbers are, as far as I can tell, one of the most essential forms of communication, if not the essential form of communication in the world. The idea of number is baffling to me. However, this is just a first in a long series of rants about philosophy in general. I just wanted to touch on the fact that I'm keen to the zeitgeist movement. I like Jacques Fresco. I don't believe he's a crazy, maniacal technocrat who wants to control everybody, like a lot of people say he is. They paint this picture of some sort of Jonestown Massacre type cult being formed by these people who want to help everybody. It just seems silly to me. I guess only time will tell. But yeah, I really encourage discourse like this, anybody else's philosophies. If you want to debate me on anything, I absolutely love rhetoric. I'll argue points that I don't even necessarily agree with at my root. But I really like this. I think it's good for us. I think it's healthy for people to explore new modes of thought. So I'm leaving this open to everybody else. This is the first in a series of philosophy and social observation videos, I guess we'll call it. It's been Lester Corona Strolling Bones, rambling about metaphysical existence and philosophy. Thanks a lot, guys, and I hope you guys are interested in having these conversations. I can tie this stuff into role-playing, and I do it all the time. So any conversation on this would be sweet. I'd love to get into the metaphysical philosophy behind role-playing and also the science behind role-playing, as both are really interesting to me. Peace. 88s.